Morning. Welcome back to the shop. Say hi to Danny. Hi, Danny. Danny's fumbling around in the shop in here. Usually we don't let him in. There's too many sharp things for him to step on. You can see I got some bandsaw blades over there. Show you around a little bit. That's my sawtill. This is the joinery shop. Do our joinery bench. Our lathe. Let me get a backup shot here. Most of our hand tools over here. Also chisels on this wall and rasps and files, so on and so forth. We got a project going on. This is for standing right in the middle of those bandsaw blades. For Thanksgiving, one of our chairs at Mom's house is broken, so we're actually repairing it. We glued it up, and I don't know if you can see where the you probably can't see where the crack was because we did such a good job gluing it up. And I'm gonna put we'll flip it over now. It's dry today, and I'll put some bow ties in the bottom down here. Use something we have over here on the floor. I can see I got some teak right here. Probably make the bow ties out of this teak since I have it sitting right here on the floor. They'll be underneath, so they're nothing decorative. Maybe someday somebody will look at it and say, oh my God, look at the bow ties on the bottom. Most of our routers, block planes, some great Stanleys over here, molding planes, tongue and groove planes, rabbet planes, most of our squares, marking gauges. This one's mostly jack planes, low angle jack, woodies, regular jacks and jointers. A grinding station. I use this mostly for lathe tools, grinding metal and wooden lathe tools. But yeah, it's the inside shop. Kind of like some measuring stuff, dial indicators, calipers, so on and so forth, extra chucks, all the stuff for the lathe tooling. My great little miter box that I restored, if you didn't see that video, measuring stuff over here. But that's not what the video is about. Actually, that North Falmouth Saw Shop, that's a piece of ash that my wife made me that sign. That's going to go on the saw shop outside eventually. Christmas presents. These are going to be cutting boards. Puzzle piece cutting boards, actually. I don't know if you can see. The blanks are all glued up. They're going to be cut out. This is kind of a router template to route them afterwards. But they're like... not cutting boards, like charcuterie boards that kind of fit together that you can put together. Some cool combination planes we just got in. But anyway, Danny, come on out here. We're going to go outside. Got the wood stove cranking. Little Sunday morning countdown going on. We're going to go outside and show you some what I did the end of the week out in the mill yard, and have a little talk about the milling business, because it's changed a little bit and it's not what I thought it was going to be. So I think that's a Sunday morning topic, not a very long video. And we got to get some more wood in. So this is actually a wood bin that's upside down, and one of Danny's beds is under it. I got to flip that back over and load that up. Just keep it right here by the wood stove. This is 18th century farmhouse, 1800s farmhouse. And in our living room here, if we keep all our doors open, this wood stove pretty much heats the whole house. Upstairs, there's 3 bedrooms upstairs. We have our bedroom downstairs right here. It used to be a 5 because that front room used to be a bedroom as well. It actually got walled off and turned into a bedroom. But anyway, rambling. I'm gonna go outside. I'm gonna pause this because my son's playing some music out in the garage. I was gonna show you. I got all the saws out of the garage, but he's playing some music out there. So rather than torture you with that, I'm gonna pause it and we'll take a walk out back, and then I'll show you what I did out there. So I'm gonna hit pause, and in an instant you'll be out in the back. All right, so walking out back. I know you guys seen it, but you see the back side of the house. You see my wood stove. That's where the wood stove is. Stainless steel pipe coming out of that window. But what I did out here, before I get you set on the tripod, I had the Bobcat out on loan. I just got it back. Unfortunately, I parked it in a bad spot because it doesn't show off, so I took out that big pile here next to the mill, graded out this hillside here, filled in the low spots, and graded it all out. Get you on the tripod. Put my coffee down so I don't spill it. I moved my bench over here to the end of the mill, and I think that it's kind of a good spot. It was, I don't know if you guys remember, but it was sitting kind of over here, and there was a hillside there, and then all my flitches and slab cuts and stuff were in a big pile over here. I moved those into next year's firewood pile because that's what this used to be. Here was this huge old firewood pile waiting to be cut and split, and I moved that all over there, and I got a spot I can set my splitter up in there to split all that stuff out for next year. So this area kind of is improving. I got full access around the mill. There's great topsoil in here, so it's all going to grow in. However, my wife kind of threw a curveball at me. She hates the hillside. She says the hillside's not usable because of the grade. I don't know if I can get a cross grade here. So there's a slope like this that goes, it's probably, if you look at that pile of wood up there, that's probably 5 feet higher than where the Bobcat is. So there's a gradual slope up the hill. And what the wife wants me to do is she wants me to cut this all perfectly flat, put in a retaining wall here, cut a terrace on the top, up above it right here, put in a retaining wall there, and then some sort of roadway. So the retaining walls, so we'd have a flat area here, a retaining wall kind of tapering down, and then a flat area on top of that, and then a retaining wall and tapering down, and then a roadway around the side here to go up all the way to the top. So that's what she wants me to do now, and she wants to put in they're organic planters. So basically what you do is you take old rotten logs and you put them in the bottom, and you put topsoil on top, which this is all great topsoil, and I'm going to have to strip it to terrace this out. You put topsoil in the top and have them be raised beds. And because this hillside right here is kind of raised, she thinks she wants this whole thing to be a raised bed with this organic matter. So it's not horticulture, obviously. It's a different kind of culture, it's called. I don't remember what the name of it is, but she wants that all along here. And then, like I said, a perfectly level flat area here with a retaining wall going around, and then a flat area up here with a retaining wall going around, so that we have flat areas to put stuff. Now, I don't know how reasonable that is yet. We're going to talk it out when she gets back. Just because I don't think that these flat areas are going to be very big for me to be able to maneuver a machine around on them. I'm not sure how reasonable that's going to be. So we're going to have to talk this out. I kind of like the hillside. I kind of want it to grow in and be more natural back here. And then when I do put in a kiln, which is probably going to sit right here somewhere, because south is directly over my shoulder. I'm pointing due north right now. You're looking due north. And we got great sunshine here now, so I'm gonna put my solar kiln in right here somewhere. I might put it up between the trees, although I don't want crap falling on it. So, you know, right here would be a perfect area. We're gonna put a little shed in here as well. I was going to, originally, the original plan was kind of put it right here. I think I'm gonna burn a bunch of my construction debris over here. And get this pile out of here. That's the beginning of the week's project. And we're gonna burn a bunch of it on Thursday. We're having people over after Thanksgiving for an after Thanksgiving kind of little cookout party thing going on. Desserts and drinks and a big bonfire in the fire pit. So I'm gonna get rid of this whole pile of construction debris. I'm probably going to move all those slabs, those old pine slabs and stuff out of there. That's where I used to keep them when I was chainsaw milling. So I'm thinking I might put the shed right here. And it's going to be a small, like a 10 by 10. Actually very similar to that one that you see sitting over there. That's 8 by 8. But a small shed, and I think I'll end up putting it right here. And it's going to have all the sawmill stuff in it. And then the saw shop, you saw the sign inside, is going to go right here. So this is where the timber frame is going to go. We own that lot next door, but we want to put the timber frame on this property. And I have a post in the ground right here. Actually, somebody came and dropped off logs and drove over it. It's right there. They drove over it. And our property line, let me just kind of give you a look here. So this road coming down here is actually on that lot, or most of it. I think the line kind of goes like that. So from that brick kind of on this line here is the property line. So we want to put the saw shop over here on this property, which means the mill's probably going to move. And that's been the plan all along. So this is where the saw shop's going to go. It's going to be 16 by 12 inside, and then have a farmer's porch off one side, and then a big platform work area covered off the other side. 16, I think, by 10 was what we were thinking on the work area outside. It'll just basically be a big covered deck for us to be able to work on sawhorses and things like that, doing joinery while we're covered, where we can work on timbers and stuff. So that's all going to go right here. But I think, aside from a Sunday morning update, man, it looks way better over here too. You know, it's just so much more access to the mill. Getting that pile out of here was huge. But what I want to talk about was the business a little bit, because the business has changed. And I made a miscalculation, I think. You get you set up in a tripod here so I can sit down. So I think this is important, especially if you're sawing, at least in the, my area in the Northeast. It's kind of a cool view. Look at all the yellow and the maples all in. It's so late, but all the maples turn yellow. It's beautiful out right now. I can probably sit right there on the, oh, it's a good view. That's kind of a good view. Let's do this. Let's get you here. Raise you up a little bit. So, coffee. My plan had always been, I took a few years and just sold slabs, probably 3 years, where I was selling slabs nonstop, milling them with a chainsaw, big stuff, stuff that really nobody else had. And I have 5 mill saws, and I could cut out to really 48 wide. on a 56-inch bar. I have 90-inch rails too, but I've just never set up. I've never completed a setup for that. Got a bar and chain for that. But anyway, when I was selling slabs, the slab business was great. I mean, I would cut a log one day, a big log, put the pictures on Facebook Marketplace, and they'd all sell right away. And it was literally like that every day. I'd cut a log, put it on Facebook Marketplace, stack it, and they'd all be gone. And I did that for a few years. And then COVID hit, and that got me out in the field building. There was so much money in building that, I couldn't say no, really. So I spent 3 years, almost four years now building out in the field. And about the end of that, in COVID, I bought the sawmill, and I was kind of beating the crap out of my body so bad. At the beginning, Kate was working with me and my son was working with me, and it wasn't that bad. But then they kind of went and did their own thing for different reasons. Kate had some health issues, so I ended up by myself pretty much, building every day out in the field and humping lumber around. And everything's always big, heavy work, because that's why people hire me to do stuff like that. Complicated stuff, logs, and high-end landscaping projects with black locust and stuff I milled and this, that, and the other thing. So it took a pretty big toll on me. I bought the mill. I figured the mill was going to be kind of like a move out of the field into the house. And because the slab business was crapping itself with everybody getting into the slab business during COVID, I said, I'm going to stay away from that. I'm just going to cut rough sawn lumber and concentrate on pine, because nobody in my area does it. Now I'm getting a little bit of interest out of that, because I just started advertising on Marketplace and on my local. What I do is I put a post up on Marketplace, a generic post, we'll cut what you want, with pictures, and then I share it to all the local yard sale sites, everything that's around me. So like, let's say 15 local yard sale sites, I share the post. And then I get interest through that. I get messages, pretty much nonstop. Hey, can you do this? Hey, can you do that? And what really surprised me is all of the interest that I'm getting, almost all of it, is all for slabs. Everybody still wants slabs. So it's a little discouraging, because, to be honest with you, a sawmill like the Norwood here is not a slabbing mill. It's not. It's my chainsaws are better for slabbing than this mill is for big stuff. For small stuff, obviously the mill's still the way to go. But big stuff, the mill just doesn't handle slabbing well. When you put a really big log on this, to deal with it, you need to be able to turn it and kind of whittle it down, and that's not good for slabs. You want just to be able to flat saw the whole slab. So, the whole log. So I'm going to shift a little bit, and unfortunately a lot of my real big, let's say sought after stuff is going to be too big for this mill for me to slab. So what I think I'll do is I'll use the mill deck, and I'll slab with my chainsaw mills right on the mill deck. It's a great spot to be able to hold stuff. I used to have to come up with creative ways so I wasn't crawling around on the ground. Let's say I was going to slab that big white oak right there. I'd have to be kneeling down and crawling around on the ground. So I had some places. I had a big huge log with a rotten spot in it. So it was kind of like canoe shaped, and I would set my logs, and if you go back in my videos you'll be able to see it, but I'd set my logs up on top of that so I could mill standing up, and sometimes I would put them on sawhorses and blah, 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 blah. As long as I was here in the yard, I had the machine, I could lift them up onto something to get myself off the ground, keep myself from kneeling down. I think the mill deck could be perfect, just to set a log on it, and then I can, even if as long as it's less than the 48 wide, I could even make a top cut on it to put my ladder on. So a truing cut, stick my ladder on it, um, and then go to town with the chainsaw mill it down, take the slabs off. I could even flip it over and do the same thing from the other side. So I think that the mill will kind of work for some of the bigger logs, and it gives me ability to hold them too. Um, but I think the mill will work for some of the bigger logs. But what I'm going to do, what I'm going to start right after Thanksgiving, it's kind of a weird time. The holiday season is kind of a weird time for me because we have so much going on with family and stuff like that. That, you know, I figure between now and the first of the year, with everything that's going on, I'm probably only gonna have a couple of weeks of real work. But in this pile over here, I've got a bunch of walnut, cherry, black locust, and it's all on this side of the pile. So the front side of the pile is all kind of new pine and stuff like that, and this back side right here is all loaded with real nice hardwood. And then the logs that are perpendicular that you can see in the background over there, there's some elm in there and some other stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with the bobcat and cut this hill out flat behind the pile here and start taking my higher dollar hardwoods out of here and slabbing them. And you can see the you can see the walnuts in there. There's one right there at the end of my finger. There's one right there at the end of my finger. So there is a bunch of walnut in here, and you can see the black locust. There's a bunch of black locust in there too. Still a bunch of pine here, but I want to get my, there's a real big, it looks kind of oaky. It's a real big, looks like a big oak log right there. I don't know why that's still in the pile. But anyway, so we're going to start getting into that, you know, the immortal questions of how thick do I mill them out. You know, kind of what I wanted was, I wanted a situation with all the logs that I have to be just where the customer would call and say, hey, do you have any, you know, I want some elm slabs. Can you cut me a bunch of 2-inch or 2.5 or 1.5 inches or whatever? So then I could just mill it to what they wanted. But I think I'm going to have to bite the bullet and just mill slabs out of a bunch of this hardwood and start advertising them, because it's all the interest I'm getting. Everybody that messages me, they want slabs, and that really surprises me. I really thought that market was dead. Now we're going to see what happens with the price, because when I was doing it with chainsaws, let's just say 5 years ago, I could name my price and everybody was taking them. I could mill tulip, you know, big tulip poplar and put them out for $300 a slab and sell them instantly. So we're going to have to see what that works out like. I can tell you I'm not going to do it if people are thinking they're going to get slabs for $50 a piece. You know, it's just not worth it to do the heavy work. I'll mill them into lumber, you know, and start grade sawing the hardwoods instead and try and sell them that way. And just, but that limits your audience to real woodworkers. You know, Tom, Dick, and Harry, you know, Mrs. Smith, who is into crafting, isn't going to want stuff like that. People that, you know, just did an outside barbecue and they want a big slab bar top, they're not going to want grade sawn wood. They're going to want big, huge, thick, natural edge stuff. So it's really going to be a little bit of hunt and peck. I wanted to give you an update on what seems to be happening in the business here. Unfortunately, I am loaded with huge logs, and I'm gonna have to find a way to get through them. I mean, I could just mill slabs nonstop, and the other part of that is that's a noise issue too. The sawmill is not a noise issue. You know, everybody runs a leaf blower or a lawnmower around here. A ride-on is as loud as me. So my neighbors don't have any problem with me out here sawing. I start running a chainsaw all day in a mill, full squirt on 9-minute passes, 10-minute passes. That's a different story. That's a big toll on my neighbors. And I'll do it. I'll concentrate during the week. But my neighbors in back of me right here, both of them work from home. So they're in there on the computers, and I'm out here full squirting a 100cc saw for 9-minute passes. That kind of sucks. So, it's a real issue. It's a real issue for me. How I'm going to be able to manage this. Now I can flat saw most of the small stuff, but the big stuff, I mean, if I start getting into full squirt in those all day, somebody's going to complain. Somebody's going to complain to the town. So I don't really know how I'm going to manage that yet. So I want to give you guys an update. Hope this didn't run too long. It's a beautiful day. Burning the wood stove. We're going to get some wood in the house. I'll spend the afternoon between watching a little bit of football and starting to tear into that construction debris pile. I want to tear it apart and cut some of it up for the bonfire on Thanksgiving, and maybe throw a tarp over it just so that I keep it dry. It's supposed to rain Wednesday, so I want to make sure I have plenty of wood for that day. I got plenty of pine lying around that I could burn on the fire too, which is fine. I need to clean up, so it's not going to be a problem. But if I want to burn, I want to burn through most of that construction debris and all the big stuff. Kind of show you that pile. You guys know me, my videos get long, so it is what it is. You can always fast forward to sign off. There's a bunch of 4x6s in here, there and there, over there. There's a bunch of 4x6s in here that I'm going to use for ground bunks. And I think I'm going to use some of the longer ones like that one for the retaining wall. I think what our retaining wall idea is to put a bunch of posts in, and then use slab cuts and timber lock them to the posts. That'll look kind of cool. And probably go all the way down this wall, and then it will come out and curve, I think, a little bit, and probably end over here. So, and it'd probably only be a couple feet high off the ground. So we'll use our slab cuts for the retaining wall, and then I'll backfill up to it and then cover it with topsoil. So I'm going to strip all the topsoil off, get myself down to brown dirt, use the brown dirt, cut the brown dirt flat, cut my terrace in there, put the retaining wall in, backfill it, and then put the black dirt back on top. So, and like I said, cut that hill out right there, get at my hardwoods and stick them out here where I can mill them. Put them probably in this pile right here, but I'll wait till after Thanksgiving to do that, so I'm not messing up the yard anymore now. I'm going to move those white oaks out from the fire pit right there. The fire pit's right behind it, you just can't see it. I got my burn barrel over there. I'm going to move those two big white oaks. We'll get the backyard set up for Thanksgiving stuff, and I will destroy this debris pile here, cut it down into usable chunks, and we'll burn everything we can burn. So that's kind of the plan, and it's the update on the yard and the update on where I see the business going. And it's going to be a challenge for sure. And these are kind of things you got to think through. You don't end up with, if I'm just grade sawing or sawing lumber, you don't end up with these huge piles of black oak and white oak and elm. I've got a whole pile of elm up there, right there. These are all black and white oaks. There's all black and white oak up there, and they're all, so most of them are monsters. A good example, some customer just brought this to me to finish it. This is a big black oak right here that I milled for him, a bunch of big thick slabs off of. And I've got to finish that off. Well, that's 48 wide, trimmed. You know, I have to do that with a chainsaw. I can't trim that on the sawmill unless I cut it down, and that's not what he wants. He wants these full width. Man, look how good the finish was on that log. It's been sitting around a while. Look at the rays in it. Look at the rays in it. It's a beautiful log. But I do have to finish that out. It's got some checking in it, obviously. But yeah, you can see the pile of elm, and these, you know, these, if you look for comparison wise, you know, these are monster logs. These are not logs that are going to play well on that mill for flats on. It just doesn't have the capacity. You know, it'll cut 31 wide, sure, perfectly straight, perfectly symmetrical logs. You know, what will it really cut? About 28. Once you're going to start messing with it, and you're still going to be trimming and stuff. So most of the, you know, a lot of these are just barely going to fit. They're going to be big and unwieldy, but I will slab everything I can, and then start storing slabs up top in my clearing over there, which is in that hole in the woods. And I'll start advertising them that way, and we'll go from there. We'll see what people are willing to pay for them. If they're not willing to pay for them, then you run into a lot of issues with it. That's not just willing to pay for them; it's moving them. You know, it's people showing up in a car wanting a 250-pound slab. You know, there's a lot of issues. So it's, you know, me delivering, moving them, loading them, delivering them, unloading them, putting them where they want. Oh, they want them out back, you know, in their house. You can't drive out there. You got to carry it. You know, there's a ton of issues to it. So we'll see what happens, and I will keep you guys updated. And I hope you guys are having a great weekend and Sunday morning coffee. And thanks for hanging out with me. Let me know what you think about slabbing stuff, about what you think thicknesses are going to be. I mean, I got to make determination when I pull that walnut out how thick I'm going to mill it. You know, my intuition tells me they're not huge logs, but they're big enough. My intuition's telling me 1.5 inches. I don't know. What would you want? So let me know, and if you hit me up with any questions, I'll answer them back. Hope you have a great weekend. Thanks.